We are now at the last lesson of the year, section 2.7, factoring special cases. So we have two special cases. The first special case is a perfect square trinomial. Now, when we were multiplying binomials, when we had a plus b squared, that equaled a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So we multiplied we squared the a, put that at the beginning, squared the b, put it at the end, and then multiplied a times b times 2 and put that in the middle. We also had a minus b squared, and we got a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So if we see a trinomial that has perfect squares at the beginning and the end, it might be a perfect square, which then makes it easy to factor. So we're going to look at factoring x squared plus 14x plus 49. Well, the first term, x squared, that's a perfect square. The square root of x squared is x. The last term, 49, is a perfect square. Square root of 49 is 7. So now to see if it's a perfect square, if we multiply x times 7 and then go times 2, does that give us the middle term? 7x times 2 is 14x. So then that is a perfect square. So then that factors to x plus 7 squared. Okay, x squared minus 18x plus 81. Is that a perfect square? Well, x squared, square root is x. 81, square root is 9. Is 9 times x times 2, 18. Well, it's positive 18. We have a negative 18. So we're just going to have the minus 9 then, because negative 9 times negative 9 is still 81. But negative 9x times 2 is the negative 18x. So that factors to x minus 9 squared. All right, what if there's a number in front of the x squared? Well, if it's a perfect square, then we're still doing the same thing. 4x squared, the square root is 2x. 9, the square root is 3, is 2x times 3 times 2, 12x. 2 times 3 is 6 times 2 is 12. So yes, so that's a perfect square. So that factors to 2x plus 3 squared. Okay, here's an easy one. Factor that. How does that factor? Yes, x minus 4 squared. Simple. Here's another one. I want you to pause the presentation, factor 9x squared minus 30x plus 25, and then resume. Okay, square root of 9 is 3, square root of 25 is 5, 3 times 5 is 15, times 2 is 30, so that's a perfect square. So 3x minus 5 squared. Our other special case is the difference of squares. Now, remember when we multiplied a plus b times a minus b, we got a squared minus b squared. A squared minus b squared is the difference of squares. So if we're going to factor the difference of squares, a squared minus b squared, that is the easiest thing to factor of all. Whenever I have two perfect squares separated with a minus, it's just a plus b times a minus b. So 4x squared minus 81, is that the difference of squares? Yes, 4x squared is 2x squared. 81 is 9 squared. So that factors to 2x plus 9 times 2x minus 9. See, these are the easiest to factor. Okay. Here's an easy one. Factor x squared minus 64. How does that factor? That's the difference of squares. That factors to x plus 8 times x minus 8. Easy. 9x squared minus 100. Factor that. You should quickly see those are both perfect squares. So that's 3x plus 10 times 3x minus 10. So the difference of squares was the easiest thing to factor. When we have a polynomial like 3x cubed y minus 12xy cubed. Well, that's not the difference of squared. But what's the first thing we always look for? The common factor. So if we pull out the common factor is 3x. And when we pull that out, we're left with the perfect factor is 3x squared y. When we pulled that out, we're left with x squared minus 4y squared. Okay, so that now is the difference of squares. And so that will easily factor to x plus 2y, x minus 2y. So our completely factored form is 3xy times x plus 2y times x minus 2y. All right, try this one. 4x cubed plus 24x squared plus 36x. Pause the presentation, factor that, and then resume. All right, there's a common factor of 4x. So when we pull that out, we're left with x squared plus 6x plus 9. Okay, that is one of our perfect square trinomials. And so that will factor to x plus 3 squared. Okay, here we go. Last one. 50x squared minus 32y squared. Pause the presentation, factor that, and then resume. Okay, in this one, we want to pull out a common factor. The common factor for this would be 2. So if we pull out the 2, then we're left with 25. I'm making a mess there. 25x squared minus 16y squared, and now we have the difference of squares, and so we can factor that, and so that factors to 2 times 5x plus 4 times 5x minus 4. And so there we have it. You have reached the end of the lessons for Advanced Math 1. Yay!